Hi, I'm Lance. We have Jovana here still.
Hi.
Jenna left her show because she has to be on the Dr. Oz show. And we're going to carry this out for the next half hour or so.
Here we are.
Here we are. First of all, Jovana, why don't you show us some of your jewelry that you have? That you brought?
Okay, yeah, I brought some stuff. These are the newest cards that I made for my rings, and you can see this one.
Gotcha. What's this one called?
It's one of the shield rings. Then we have this one. These are my largest Horus rings. Then we have this guy. He is called Kravis ring, and he's intended as you can see there to like sit as low as possible below the fingers. I mean,
Okay.
between the fingers. And then we have these two, which I really like.
Let's make sure we time.
They are, they're interlocking. Those are two rings. They interlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have 4 different.
Yeah, I have 5, but I just gave somebody a card they needed.
So these are different designs. When did you start doing this?
I started doing. I launched my collection in the beginning of 2015. So it's now a year and a half since I've had it, and but I've been designing jewelry. I think I remember. I mean, when I was a little kid, and then I remember learning some techniques from the street vendor at the seaside in 1992. So.
And when was the first time you sold any?
The first time I sold it was in high school. It was in high school a long time ago.
That was what? So that was when you were still in Serbia?
Well, I was still in Serbia.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then the road from actually, thinking I need to learn more, and then feeling confident that what I do can become a business. That was a long, long journey.
Did you come to the States because of the business, or for?
I came to United States because I didn't want to stay in Serbia, because I was studying at the time at 3 different universities, and I wanted to become an artist, and I had this feeling that it's not going to be possible there, and I decided to leave. I honestly wanted to go to Europe, but it was harder for me to get to Europe than to come to United States.
To another European country?
Yeah, like I wanted to go to France.
Serbia's in Europe.
Yeah,
right,
yeah. I mean, we are still
Western
like,
Europe.
Yeah, totally. It's funny that I'm caught saying like Europe versus Serbia, because.
So Serbia didn't consider it to be, like, you weren't considering it part of.
Yeah, we consider it part of Serbia, but we are not sometimes being considered Serbia. We really want to be part. We always wanted to be part of EU. We wanted to like move freely. Now we can. We are always being put on, on the out, like cultural and other outskirts of all that's happening, even though we deserve to be, in the middle of it. And I think we are now getting there.
Getting to where the country. Now, last time you were on, you talked about the tennis player Novak
Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic, right? I was giving him the J-O.
Yeah. He's super inspirational. I think he's super solid. He has a super solid performance in all sorts of different ways. Like as a public persona in Serbia, he has his foundation. When you see him interact with little kids in Serbia, he just seems so genuine, and he's a super smart guy. So he's a great ambassador for our country.
For Serbia, he's representative of the sort of the persona, like the personality.
He is. I think we talked about it before. I think he, as well as we could all smile a little bit more and be a little bit less intense, and allow people to approach us a little bit more, be a little bit more malleable. I think that we are still going through our growing pains as a nation, and as nations that was always pushed off to the side, advocates. So we are now, as humans, trying to, I think, find our ways into more mellower, more confident, softer selves, and smile more.
And how does that influence your art?
My art, Um, you know, now I'm seeing a change because how influenced my art or my like jewelry was that I always wanted to be perfect and push myself and everything to the what I thought was like the final limit of exhaustion or survival. And I think no, or I think like things have to happen to the bone or until you bleed or something, and it's like that's maybe a little bit too intense for just a little bit too intense. So I'm taking down a notch now, I think.
We might take it. Let's see how the rain.
Rain, I love rain.
Okay, so let me know when.
I love rain. And it's like I read somewhere, I forget where it was. They said that like how people behave, like how people relate to rain, tells something about their character. Like I guess like you're a better character if you love it rain.
If you love the rain, I was actually talking the other day. Like running in the rain is an amazing. I golfed on Sunday in the rain, and everybody was like, "How are you golfing?" And I was just like, "The most fun is actually doing that." I wonder how good this is for our phones.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think I have to take this just.
Put it away, sure.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah. So Jenna took the umbrellas with her.
Ah.
So we're gonna. I think just because of the rain and we're not prepared for it, we're just gonna end here.
Sounds good.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow morning at 11. I normally would want us to keep it going, but did you end already? Did you stop anything?
No.
Right. Yes. And rain is lining up. We're gonna keep it going.
Okay.
We're gonna keep it going. Am I reading that number right? Yeah. Okay.
And the smell is super nice now.
The smell of rain, yeah. So rain and all this stuff, but we were talking about how the influence of Serbia on your art when the rain started coming
like
down.
I think definitely influence of Serbia, like as a cultural heritage, Byzantium and like our relation to like Roman Empire and like all these, and then medieval
What is the
times.
relation?
I just like
my history of my knowledge of Serbian history.
I mean, we are like it just like Balkans was one of the Roman territories, and then later on was like it became like a independent medieval country in late 12th century, and then it was like part. It was then it was independent till like fall under Turks in middle of 15th century, and then we were like under Turks, all these things. So it's like, so there's like a lot of different overlapping cultural heritage and a lot of different influences that's like definitely left a mark. But for me nowadays, being a Serb or being influenced by being Serb has to do something with the most immediate history of growing up in like post-communist country in the midst of like whole eastern part of Europe falling apart and falling prey to lack of institutions, and organized crime.
So in terms of now to take that to your art and how that influenced, like let's say the jewelry you have on, like are those pieces, where do you see sort of those same threads in your art?
I think like how I push myself in my process and how I drive myself hard to always be better and to overcome any kind of a hardship. I think that's how I'm being influenced by being from
So it's
there.
more in the process.
It's more in the process than in the form.
Than in the form of the art. So the art is just like the art is its own island essentially.
Exactly.
It stands by itself.
Yeah.
Whereas the process and how you're able to, maybe deal with disappointment.
Totally.
And all of these other.
Or growing, learning. I think biggest thing for me is learning, like education and learning. So education through institutions, education from mentors that you're sometimes able to get or not, but you wish you can, and then learning through the process.
What's your educational background?
Yeah, I started. I mean, I was like a super big nerd growing
Okay.
up. Only reading, and really, and I think I was a little bit awkward too. Like when I look back at like the topics that I was interested in, or sentences that I would utter, I was like, it just wasn't like a small talk, and it was like hard to like really, I had great friends, but it really wasn't like shooting shit and like having loads of fun. It was more like being super serious about things. And
you were in the States when you were by then? Or
no, I was
still in Serbia?
I was Serbia. Like I was a nerd in Serbia, and then the older I was getting, the less of a nerd I was being.
And you're still a nerd, or you're?
I don't think I'm a nerd by definition, but I'm like I'm now doing, I'm like now like a digested nerd, like a intense. I'm now just intense.
Got it. Okay, and your jewelry's not for nerds though.
It's all for nerds.
Is your jewelry for nerds, or is it for everybody?
It's for everybody. You know what? It's really for everybody.
Does it make you cool, or does it make you nerdy?
I think it makes you cool.
Like my sunglasses, people would argue make me nerdy.
Yeah.
These are my sunglasses.
Yeah. No, I would hope that this. I would hope that this makes you cool, and I would.
Does it
hope,
you think that it would give you confidence?
I think I think of them as my allies. And I think of them as my extensions of my body.
Do you feel the need for allies?
I think we all need allies, and I think it's good to recognize that you do need allies, and I think it's also good to I won't say not harvest, but nurture friendships into bigger involvement, so that you can call them allies.
Okay.
I think it's like ally is like a higher level of commitment and relationship that you have with your friends.
And how do you find your best allies, and how do you go about nurturing?
I wasn't really good about that, like growing up and stuff, because I was like totally consumed by learning and being a nerd.
So that's like a skill set.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill set. It's kind of like building your confidence, understanding where you're standing, taking tally of the stuff that you've done before, good and bad, and then saying like, hey, it turns out that that I am this kind of a person, and you admit yourself good and bad things, and then upon that you say to yourself, being this kind of a person and having this kind of a passion, I really want to commit myself doing this. And then
so it's pivoting off of the passion.
Yeah, it's pivoting off of kind of admitting to yourself your weaknesses and giving yourself a tap and thumbs up for good things. So you admit you're bad, you give yourself thumbs up for good, you recognize what you love to do and see where the most passion comes off of, and then that's your standing point. So then that
positive reinforcement is extremely important.
Yeah, even like recognizing some bad stuff, it's part of your base. I mean, whatever it is, that maybe sometimes you're lazy, or that sometimes you just really don't feel like doing something. Sometimes that you're crude, or you have no patience for something. I think I want to have more patience for stuff that annoy me, but that's a process. But sometimes I don't have enough patience. For things not being quick enough or not being smart, like involved enough.
And so, are you working on that, on your patience? Like you were talking earlier about incubating within yourself. Is that is that one of the things you're working on building?
Yeah, I think it's I think and you build. How do you build patience? Like you can build patience through meditation, or telling yourself no. Like you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. Or you build patience by actually saying like, it's not really about patience, it's about understanding that certain things run in a different pace, right, regardless of what I want. So then it's recognizing and appreciating something for what it is. But I'm saying like me sometimes being too short to not having patience is like something that it's one of my smaller bad things about me, for instance. And if I'm that kind of a person, then most likely I'm going to get along better with somebody who's as fast as me.
Okay.
And so that's like from that bad thing, I then see how
So you're
I
taking
relate.
two negatives and trying to make a positive.
Yeah, like seeing how I relate, and then also like being wide open, eyes wide open to people who are much slower.
Let me know comments.
You know, like looking at people who are like much slower, and then trying to understand where their different type of processing situations comes from. Are there like, is it insecurity or is it more
So it makes
consideration?
you more understanding of other people because you see like some sort of those weaknesses within yourself. Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
Okay.
Because so that becomes your like a little like self stage, upon which you like look to see who and how to engage in what.
Okay, so it almost like it helps you develop empathy because you see your own weaknesses in it, or is it the two of you sort of?
Yeah, I think and empathy is a big thing. So this is a whole story about like how you build like allies, right? Like, and how you connect with people. So I think, and it's like, you know, sometimes we say like get to know yourself,
Right.
but get to know yourself is such a like somewhat impenetrable concept. Like, okay, where do I start? You know, like.
Where do you start?
Where do I start? I start from picking up clues from articles and things that I like reading.
Okay.
You know, so there are like a lot of like, and I wanted to like, I mean, for a super long time, I wanted to like say out loud, thank you, Michael Pollan, and thank you, Stephen Colbert, you know, for making me this person that I am today, you know. So it's like...
Who was the first guy?
Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan is, I think he's like one of the pioneers who talked about food in a broadest, more comprehensive, wholesome way. So he's the guy who's being mostly quoted for saying like, eat less, mainly plants.
Okay. So he was.
Yeah, so he wrote book Omnivore's Dilemma, Botanica.
Oh, I actually read that book. Okay.
Yeah. So he's
Okay, I didn't know
so reading his articles that were about food, but through the prism of our habits, through the prism of ever-changing legislations about food, corporations and stuff like this, like 360 approach to food, cast so much light on me, on my habits, or things that I should be aware of. That's one thing. And then like.
So what are some of the other things that you should be aware of that you took yourself?
Well, no, like when you say like eat less, mainly plants.
Right.
Yeah. So when you read somewhere eat less, mainly plants, and he says like, you know, before you could say like learn from your grandmother, but in the United States you cannot really learn from grandmother because grandmother was like, you know.
She wasn't eating the right way?
Yeah, she was affected by you know, food you know, policies and stuff like as well. When you like kind of like get aware of that statement, like eat less, mainly plants, and you are in your kitchen, you know, you start answering through your actions. You start like kind of like digesting and answering that call to eat less, and then you like look around for plants, and then you like start like asking yourself like, which plant do I like the best? Like, is it cauliflower or is it broccoli? Is it kale? Is it like, and even there through food, through the textures and stuff, you become more aware of yourself. Through
the texture of the food influencing, like you're coming in touch with your body,
with yourself. Yeah, because not only that you want to feed yourself, but you want to satisfy.
So like I become an M&M, essentially.
No, but you know, like that's like so then you read about, you know, this like this newest thing. I mean, maybe it's not even newest now, but like one of the last things is like mindfulness. Be mindful.
Right.
Be mindful. So, you know, it's like, okay, be mindful, but what is really that? You know, and how to really be in a moment. But answering that thing about eating less, mainly plants, and being in a grocery store and like going through the register of your memories in regards to different foods, you are actually being in present and you're actually being mindful.
So that's what you were talking earlier about, sort of in preparation for the show, just focusing on the actual show.
Yeah.
And like the actual stuff that you're doing, not thinking about outcomes and
exactly. It's kind of like a seeing like what kind of structure and emotion and presentation that's like most beneficial to my pieces I wanna, do, and then gleaning from my previous experience of organizing stuff like that, seeing how I'm going to now adjust that to the new space. I mean, there's like I get so freaking excited about thinking about stuff, because there is, even if you want to think about cauliflower or broccoli and like look at it, there's like so much.
Do you see art in it?
I definitely see like I see little cells like vibrating, and I see like nature building up, and chiseling, and I see.
So you see that in your.
Yeah.
Do you try to when you eat? Generally, do you try to like have an artistic plate beforehand, or not?
I'm not. Well, I don't really have an artistic plate, but I have like maybe artistic disarray. When I'm like done, and like it's like there's like explosion of textures and mess. So there, like here, I'm clean. If it's my food and my hands when I eat, I tend to get dirty. I have to admit that. That's like
but you
art.
start off clean.
Savage art.
Savage eating. Savage. I mean, so like there's an aggressiveness. There's an edge to your art, which is most people would sort of see some aggressiveness in the art.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, but honestly, it's so funny. Like maybe it is. I don't want to be in denial. But when this thing rests on my hand,
it makes it peaceful for you.
I think it's quiet.
Oh, so you find well, it's like a paradox. Other people may be seeing.
I know, and I'm not going to.
So I think one of the times you were on, you actually turned it around like the other way on your finger.
Yeah,
right?
But it's like it doesn't like. Yes, they can be like this.
And then it's not. Well,
But,
even there, you were aggressive with your.
Yeah.
Your facial expression turned aggressive.
Yes, because I wanted to, like, I'm quoting the feeling that may arise.
But normally you keep it at rest, and when it's at rest, you find peace in it.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't keep it. That's where it belongs. That's where it has a tendency to be.
That's how it's designed, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other stuff is that's not how it's designed.
Yes.
So
yes, you can see. So you see the shape. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Call me crazy. Call me maybe. No, call me crazy. But I think for me it's elongated. It's kind of like extended in its effort to become what it wants to be, and it's still. It kind of froze a little bit like this, and it's still and stable. That's what I think of it. I don't think of it in any other way. So.
Got it. And as you sort of go through this process, we were talking earlier about the book that I was referring to.
Uh-huh.
So this is the David and Goliath book, and what we're going to be doing is introducing a book. Right now, we're going to do this the first day today. Probably next week we'll be doing some books where we actually touch on concepts.
Uh-huh.
And
wipe the rain off. Okay.
Wipe the rain off, yeah. So hopefully we'll be inside most of the time when it rains, or we'll have umbrellas. So this is a book called David and Goliath, and David actually famously was one of the people who took on a giant. And the book here is titled Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. The chapter that we're going to be focusing on is, if I'd gone to the University of Maryland, I'd still be in science. And the concept here is that what he was touching on, and I'd love to sort of hear your commentary as we go through this, is most people assume that if they want to be a great doctor and they want to go to Harvard Medical School, they should go to Harvard undergrad. So if you have a choice between going to University of Maryland, let's say, and going to Harvard, you should go to Harvard. What Gladwell found in some of the studies in this book was that there were a lot of people who got into Harvard who weren't used to being at the bottom of their class. So if you're at Harvard and you're in the class, there's going to be a third of the students are by definition going to be in the bottom of the class. And what they found at Harvard and a bunch of the other Ivy League institutions was that if you were used to being the valedictorian, you couldn't handle being in the bottom third of your class at Harvard. And a lot of people dropped out of being pre-med at Harvard. So whereas that same person was at the top of would have been at the top of their class at the University of Maryland, that they were the best student, and they would have been, and so they should wait till being the bottom of the third of their class until they're in medical school. And so what they started doing is they actually started recruiting athletes, because athletes are used to sitting on the bench waiting their turn. They're not always, even if you're a great athlete, what happens is you typically get pushed up and you play against better competition, so you get used to losing and things like that, so you don't take it personally. So that's a little bit, I think, what you were talking about kind of earlier with Serbia and how you learned to sort of plow through things.
Totally. Listen, like the fact that I came from Serbia definitely made it, I think, so much more enjoyable for me in the United States. I mean, I could see through, not really a system, but I could see through, I could see and appreciate opportunities. I could work hard to get them. Like, you know, one of my first jobs after being a babysitter was like a friend of mine introduced me and got me the job, night shift at the Malibu diner in Hoboken.
Oh, okay.
Right, and the shift was night, so it was like because that was her preferred shift. So then I just went along with her. It was from 9 to 6 in the morning.
Wow.
And then from there, somebody else said like, "Hey."
But you appreciated it.
Oh, totally. I mean, I was like, okay, so and it's like, and I'm taking this like a diner menu, and I'm messing up every order because I don't know all these substitutes and all these things with eggs and things. So it was like, yeah, I mean, it was a shock. It was a shock to my system.
What was the worst thing that happened? What was the biggest mistake you made?
I forget now, but I definitely, the biggest mistake was that I don't think there was a single order that I got right.
So you got every order wrong.
Yeah, I think that crossed my heart.
How long did it take you?
I think crossed my heart, I messed up every order.
So everybody used to like, was it noticeable to the patrons or?
Yeah, but I think that it was so hard to juggle all the modifications to a diner meal, like whatever it would be, like eggs.
They serve everything.
You know, this on the
especially
side,
in those hours, you have like every meal.
The eggs like this way, then like that, then remove this, put this on the side, then with gravy, then that. You know, like it was like.
How long did you survive there?
I didn't survive that long. I think that like it was like hard to be like a night shift and stuff. And then some friends in the city found me a small job that was called, it was like a lunch place, which was also a disaster, called Burrito Box. So, and I think it still exists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to work there, and I would have to pick up the phone orders, which again I didn't know what the healthy thing was, and like how you can have these greens and then put this thing and then leave this out, and so it was super overwhelming for me. And then the line was out the door. But
so you went from the diner to the Burrito Box. What came next?
Restaurant. I was a hostess in a restaurant, and they like just down the street there was a.
What year is this around?
This is 2002.
Okay.
And then I was a hostess there, and then somebody decided it was a good idea to train me as a bartender, and that was great.
So you were getting drinks wrong at the bar, or was that?
No, actually, I was like, this girl was about to train me, so I was very methodical. I was writing down all the names of the things. I was like going through all the wines and trying those, so I know what to say. You know.
What was your favorite drink?
At that time, Shiraz was my favorite wine, and of drinks. I don't know, like I was making, like Cosmos were super duper popular, and apple martinis. That was, but I didn't like sweet drinks. So I forget what I drank at that time. But I think wine I really liked. Anyways, this girl was like, "You'll figure it out." I'm like, I don't know how to make any of the drinks. How am I supposed to figure it out? but I guess she really didn't want to train me because I don't think she really wanted me there.
So you just gave
so
people their drinks?
I took a book. She gave me some stuff, and then I figured it out. You know, like because it's all about. You know, you read about the drink and then you learn to develop a sense of how to count. Like I never used the little measuring cups because you learn how to measure just by extended, you know, like the pour. And when people now mixologists like make drinks with the little measuring cups, I just think it's boring.
So it's like you don't do that with your art either, I would imagine.
No, like you know, I don't go overboard. Like I took greatest pride when I was a bartender from the shaker to put the drink right amount and have no waste. So I wasn't like pouring and like not caring. Like I was really precise, but precision achieved with freehand, not with measuring cups.
Got it. Now you touched on earlier. You said that like you could appreciate America more. Is that something that you find most immigrants and like like the immigration policy is a big part of this whole election?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. You know, it's like I think immigration policy should probably be big part, but even before policy, I think sense of immigrant nature of the United States and immigrants who are fresh of both, same as me, should be first of all part of this like understanding of United States and appreciation, and then it should turn into
that
policy.
A little bit deeper.
No, I think it's like we cannot be talking about policy without really embracing those immigrant humans and knowing what they bring to the table, because any attempt at the policy in a closed Senate or a House of Representatives room is going to be failed policy, because it's not really going to address like concerns and of people here or embrace them or really appreciate them in a way, you know. So I think somehow getting a sense on the ground from, you know, from Jose to Juan to Jovana to Ivan to Igor to, you know, Honju to like, I don't, you know, all of us like kind of like having the ear and a hand on a pulse and
so appreciation. So communicating better with the...
and then...
So you feel like the immigrants don't feel like they get listened to and are not, like there's no program. Like you came in here and it was just like, hey, you're here, that's it.
Totally. And it's like, and for me, you know, for us, in a way, as long as we are given a visa and a work permit, we are fine, you know, because we don't expect to be cradled or, you know, or given stuff. But I think it would be better for Americans to comprehend the extent of effort and love and second chance that people go through and appreciate when they come here, and have that kind of spark up American lives.
Right, like there's a big opportunity to provide energy and
yes,
like motivation
definitely.
and like because there's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This has been great. Like I think on that note, this is perfect. Thank you so much.
And rain is starting again.
Rain is starting again, and there's actually a few comments there.
What are the comments?
Those are just in case. All right, so we're going to end here.
Okay.
Thank you, Jovana, for your time.
Thank you guys. Whoever watched, thank you.
And thanks.